life is happening to us all the time, and it throws us off track, and people are rude, and we have all those trigger points stored up in our like in our subconscious, in our body, that result from past hurts, from past setbacks, from bullying, or not being seen, not being recognized, not being appreciated, even up to some traumatic experiences that we
Right.
might have had, accidents or violence or stuff like that. And all of this is inside of us, and it's basically waiting to get triggered.
Hi there. I am Ravi Tangri, and this is SOULgineering, your life and your work. This is about how do you bring more heart, more soul into all of your life, into your work, into everything that you do. And tonight I am absolutely delighted to have with me a dear, dear friend from Austria, Martin Laschkolnig. Martin is an expert in personal development, in leadership, and in creating a culture where people actually want to engage. And today we're going to talk a little bit about Martin's perspective and approach, but he's also going to introduce you in these crazy, chaotic times that we live in to a very simple process to help you find your ground, which is called EFT, or Emotional Freedom Technique, or tapping. You may have heard of this. So, Martin, welcome to SOULgineering.
It's my absolute pleasure to be here, Ravi.
So, I love your background. Can you share a little bit about, you have such a unique background. I love it that brings you to business. Can you share a little bit with the listeners
Well,
what path you've
I'm
walked?
I'm an expert in self-esteem, and how do you become that? Well, very simple, because you didn't have any to begin with. So I had to learn. I had to find my ground. Have you ever had the feeling that you were the odd one out, that you didn't fit in? Yes, I
Every
know.
day.
And the amazing thing is, when I ask that in my talks, like 80% of hands go up. We all have been in that place, and we all thought something's wrong with us. And guess what? There isn't. We are just human. It's the human variety that is so broad, and we just need to meet the right people. And that actually led me at a very young age to be interested in spirituality, in what makes people tick, and how is it that some people, life throws us a curveball regularly. And some people, they are thrown off track, and they go down in the ditch, and they stay there for months, and others are back out again in 2 hours or 2 days. And that was fascinating to me. So how is that possible? And so I started researching, and one of the things that I came across was Jack Canfield and Chicken Soup for the Soul, and
Right.
and that happened actually while I was studying Buddhist philosophy and theory of perception in India with Tibetan Buddhist monks, monk scholars, and I was so. And bringing these two together, so the Eastern serenity and spirituality, and the Western science or knowledge about personal development, the development of potential, the how do you create peak performance in a wholesome way, not in a self-exploitive way. That has been fascinating to me, and combining all that is now that I'm teaching HR people, leadership people, corporations, and individuals how to create an environment where people actually want to engage. Where how and the fun thing is, those self-esteem principles about the culture we're living in, it applies to schools, it applies to families, it applies to street gangs, and of course companies. And so the fun thing is that once we find out how to do that, it's actually pretty simple. There are a few simple steps that we have to follow, and one of the big things that it's actually rather a niche topic of mine. It's not that frequently requested, but I absolutely love it with a passion. And that is, how do we bring ourselves back into balance?
Right.
And that is because in these crazy times that we live in, this is so crucial. And there are many different ways, and I know that you are doing some of them, and I still remember very fondly our workshop that we gave together at a speakers convention in Calgary 2 years ago, I believe. And it was such a beautiful simplicity,
Right.
and when you know the right techniques, it can be really easy. And I always say that this is emotional hygiene. It's like in daily life, we need to brush our teeth because we have the habit to put stuff into our mouth because we have to eat. So we get our teeth dirty. So I have to go to the bathroom and brush them, hopefully twice a day. And so that we have to do that on a physical level. And what are we doing on an emotional level?
Right.
Life is happening to us all the time, and it throws us off track, and people are rude, and we have all those trigger points stored up in our like in our subconscious, in our body, that result from past hurts, from past setbacks, from bullying or not being seen, not being recognized, not being appreciated, even up to some traumatic experiences that we
Right.
might have had, accidents or violence or stuff like that. And all of this is inside of us, and it's basically waiting to get triggered.
And
And so,
when with your metaphor, it's sort of like building up emotional plaque and decay that you're not taking care of, and also not going for dental care for years, so it just rots away at you.
exactly,
But on an emotional level and on a mental
exactly.
level, mental health.
Yeah, and no wonder that we are so like overstimulated and over
Triggered.
this is triggered and feeling this sense of threat that's coming at us. And well, looking at the current environment, there is one or the other threat around at the moment. So we actually need to do something about it. What I teach in my talks always is that we have this what I call our zone of influence
Right.
and the sphere of concern.
Yes. I
And
speak of that as well.
this empowerment happens when the sphere of concern is bigger or way bigger as it is right now than our zone of influence.
Totally.
And if we focus on, put our attention, our focus on this overwhelmed bit where we can't do anything, we don't have influence, then obviously we will be overwhelmed. We'll be totally feeling powerless, feeling useless, feeling that we don't have any say in what's going to happen. And that is and I always say there are two ways to fix this. Yeah? Like if you have time on a Tuesday afternoon, take over world rulership, fix it. Most likely, it was probably for the
Tuesday's
most of.
busy. Tuesday's not good for me.
Yeah, it's okay, good. Then we have to choose the second bit, and that is basically pull back your attention and your intention to your zone of influence, where you can actually affect change, where you can actually be empowered. And it doesn't mean that you cannot broaden your zone of influence. And I think this is something that we right now have to be very careful about, very intentional about. And I just recently heard Kamala Harris in a speech say that fear is contagious, but I'm paraphrasing, but so is courage.
Yes.
And I really like that statement, because it is so true. It is so easy to fall into the trap of fear and of despair and hopelessness. And we as social beings, humans, we are social beings. We have to get together with like-minded people and create this environment, this surrounding of courage where we empower each other. But for that, we also need to empower ourselves.
Right.
And
First.
to do that, and that is emotional hygiene at its best. That is why we need to do this.
So let's dial it back from the almost overwhelming what's happening in the world and to be courageous in that. Let's dial it back for people who are leading organizations in a leadership role in to somewhere where you actually have some degree of influence, if not control.
Mm.
What does let's bring the spirit back mean? And how does
Yeah,
that tie into this?
this this is when I was the president of the German Speakers Association. This was my unofficial theme or motto. Let's bring the spirit back. And I've been on the road the last years with the topic of serenity and how we can stay serene in these crazy times. But especially since like the end of last year, I've seen that just to stay serene is not enough anymore. But we have to do something else. We have to bring the spirit back, the spirit of togetherness, the spirit of caring for each other, the spirit of possibility thinking and of creating new ways of moving forward so that we can be the factor for change in this world. And that is the spirit that I think we desperately now need to bring back to ourselves, to our communities, to our companies, to our families, to our whole environment.
So let me ask you something. We so need this. And what you were talking about, the fear being contagious. I spoke on a recent podcast about where I was talking about sleep, okay, which is the number one destroyer of resilience, a
Superpower.
bad night's sleep. And when I do a keynote, I ask how many people regularly have a hard time. I talked about this on the podcast, but how many people have a hard time regularly sleeping at night? And 80 to 90% of the room put up their hands. I give them a free e-course on how to shut that off right away. And I am in shock the next day. You've had hundreds of people put up their hand and maybe a dozen people take advantage of it. It's like there's an inertia of fear or staying stuck. What do you make of that, and how can people break free of that inertia, do you think?
Yeah, that's that's a sad phenomenon, but I'm observing that myself. Sorry, people want to get fixed, but they don't want to fix things. It's
Okay.
it's is somehow it's because it doesn't work anyway, or I'm not sure. I think people are so overwhelmed that they're barely hanging in, maintaining their daily life. And then to oh yeah, that was a good idea, but then it's 10 minutes later, it's drowned in this sea of stress hormone that we're swimming in. And so giving giving people access and a direct experience of what they're needing in a simple way is I think, because the thing is, if the system is on overload, then you can the way to the recovery is oftentimes slow, and it's oftentimes tedious, because it's like when you pay back a mortgage
Mm-hmm.
over like 30 years, the first 20 years you basically pay interest.
Right.
You pay very, very little capital. And then suddenly you make large chunks of repayments on the actual sum that you borrowed, not the interest. And I think this is pretty much pretty similar here, that we are so on overload that we have to like get it down a little bit, until we get the breathing room again, that we can actually take action. And for that we need the courage.
Right.
We need to be inspired, to be connected with that courage that makes us actually believe again that we can affect change.
And it's the leaders in organizations, but also in life, doesn't have to be in a leadership role, the people that everyone turns to that really you have to do that for yourself before you're trying to help anyone else, right?
Correct. Correct. Because if your battery is empty, who do you want to give a charge?
Right.
Yeah. And and if your hands are full with all sort of stuff that you're juggling with, how do you want to have your hands free to actually do something and remove stuff? So the that's why I'm a huge proponent of rituals. Finding the small rituals, the small acts of compassion, of courage, of reset, of unplugging yourself. I read today a quote that most everything works better if you unplug it for a while,
Totally.
and the same is true for yourself.
Yep.
Yeah. So this when you are stuck in a situation where you say, okay, boy, it's all too much. What are the little things that you can give yourself 5 minutes of, or like go to the window, look outside. If you have a tree outside, look out into the green, take a breather. You might not be able yet to go out for half an hour, take a walk, but reconnect with nature, reconnect with that tree in front of your house, and take a breather and go in a moment of gratitude, if you can, of where you reset the overload that you're feeling. And
That's very
and one
much
of
like, sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
I was saying that's very much like Viktor Frankl in Man's Search for Meaning, who survived the Nazi
Oh, yeah.
concentration camps. He said, he could see a corner of a window from his bunk, and he could see a little bit of blue sky, and he focused on that, and that rather than all of the pain around him, for a few moments he could focus on that blue sky and
Right.
nourish himself.
Yeah. And and but I mean, I think the realization that you can do that is the huge thing.
That's huge.
And that's huge. That's huge because and to see, okay, there's a little sliver of relief, and then to focus on that and go in that direction. That is so powerful. That's so valuable. So and we're usually and that's what I'm experiencing as well. Like I had a discussion recently with my son, and he will probably kill me when I tell this in public. But so I saw his screen, and on his screen had your discipline is miserable or something like that. Yeah, like what a loser you are for that you don't have discipline or
Wow.
something of that kind. So he picked that up of some of this macho style, TikTok, whatever. So you have to push hard enough, and you have to be forceful and willingful, and blah blah blah. Huh? And I saw that, and I said, are you sure that you want to constantly feed your subconscious mind with that message? I and hey, yeah, and he has a little bit of an autism spectrum,
Hmm.
so he's not taking rhetorical questions very well, or he's rather easily going into 100% or zero. So shades of gray and
Yeah.
is not his strong side. And he's a really really good boy, but he always thinks in 100%. And I said, no, you have to see that you have a certain capacity, and you're doing the best that you can with that capacity.
Right.
And today, that capacity might be enough for a little bit of discipline.
Right.
And tomorrow it might be enough for a little bit more. And the next day you're totally overwhelmed because something happened that threw you off track, and you might have
And that's
none.
okay.
And that's okay. You're doing the best you can. Otherwise, you would do better.
So with these, you talked about these small steps that you can take. That's actually a really good transition to
Mm,
tell me about. I know you're very passionate about tapping and EFT.
yes.
Help me explain what that is for our listeners.
Be- because it is such a small step. It is something that we can so easily incorporate. And the history of it goes back to a therapist called Roger Callahan, and he was the famous Mary. He's the client where he discovered that. Yeah? So he had just taken some courses on on acupressure and things, and so she came to him and said, okay, sorry, doctor, I think we can't do the session today because my stomach feels sort of squeezy, and she was with him for is a fear of water,
Okay.
severe fear of water. She couldn't take a bath in more than like a handful of water, because otherwise she would have severe anxiety to drown, and so he said, okay, tap just below your eye on your cheekbone. This is an acupressure point that calms your stomach, and let's see if that can calm the stomach down a little bit, and then we can do our session. And she did that, and after like a minute or so, she screamed. She rushed around the house towards the swimming pool, and of course he was right behind her, because like those lawsuits for patient neglect and stuff. But she didn't do anything. She just splashed some water in her face and said, it's gone. Her fear of water, her anxiety was gone from that tapping. And he was wondering, like, okay, what's going on there? So he developed this pretty intensive routine of like muscle testing, finding out seemingly that if some energy meridians from the Chinese acupressure system, maybe they are related to some emotions and stuff. And he found that actually when you tap on those, it seemingly not only has an influence on the physical working of the body, but also on the emotions that we have let get stuck in ourselves.
Right.
And the fascinating, and then Gary Craig came along, an engineer, and he thought, okay, if I need 10 minutes to test which point is blocked, and it takes me 1 minute 20 to tap all the points, so I'll get the one that's blocked anyway. So what's the conclusion? Well, let's tap all the points. Yeah? So he developed this relatively simple routine of like eight, which is nowadays mostly used, 8 points on the body and the face and upper body, that you can gently tap. Yeah, it's not about self-punishment. It's gently tapping.
Not self-flagellation.
Like massaging these acupressure points. And I've encountered it in 2005 in sitting in a 7-day training with Jack Canfield. Actually, it was a breakthrough to success training. And in the last round, the very last activity of the course, we did a mastermind group session. And there was a young lady, beautiful, wonderful person, great, but self-esteem that you had to dig out from like 2 meters under the floor. And she said, "Well, I can't. No, I won't participate in this group activity because I'm not good enough, and you are all such super achievers, and I don't know anything, and what la 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 la." Yeah? And so next to me was a hypnotherapist from Germany, and he said, I have this little technique, and if you're willing to play for like 2-3 minutes, let's see whether we can do something about it. And me, skeptical me, sitting next to him, looked at him sideways, going like, "Well, now I'm curious." So I was not convinced. Yeah. So he asked whether he could take her hand, and took her hand and started, like when you do a karate chop with like the what do you call it, the lower,
the edge of your hand,
the edge of the hand,
palm,
of
edge
the
of the
palm.
palm.
Yeah. And he started tapping there and said, even though I think I'm not good enough to participate in this group, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. And then he went on to tap, to show her some tapping points on the face, and I'm not good enough, and I can't make a contribution, and I feel I will fail everyone. And yeah, going on like this for like 2-3 minutes, and then after 2-3 minutes, he said, okay, take a deep breath, and looked at her expectantly and said, okay, well, so how do you feel now? And I was like, seriously? Like, what? Like 2 minutes? What should that change? Hello? Did I step into the wrong movie, or what's going on? Yeah? And she let out a sigh, and after that I had to collect my jaw from the ground, because she said, I actually do feel lighter. I do feel better, and if it's okay for you that I do baby steps, I can participate in the group. And I was like, hello? What? How? It was a wait. So after we finished that exercise, I went to the guy and said, okay, come, among brothers, let's come on, tell me, what did you do there? So he told me it's this technique called EFT, emotional freedom techniques, and it's really aptly called this, emotional freedom techniques. It's a technique that leads you to emotional freedom if you apply it on a regular basis. So I got all the videos that Gary Gregg had ever recorded, and I think I spent the next 2 months in front of the TV soaking up all of that, and did some other courses on it. And the results are just short of staggering. It's like, meanwhile, lots of studies have been done on this, and the American Psychological Association has approved it as an evidence-based practice, even for PTSD in veterans. And it doesn't work for everyone, but for so many people, and in such a short time, in such an efficient way, and in such a gentle way. And that is the beauty of it.
So I know there's loads of resources if you just search on YouTube tapping or EFT that people can, but can you walk
Plenty.
people through a simple way that they can start to play with this?
Yeah. So the big question is that people always ask, okay, what do I say? Because we're using a setup statement, and then we talk about the issue, and we are oftentimes so out of touch with ourselves that we don't even know what to say. So the thing is, when you're overwhelmed and you are in the emotion, then the tapping alone is already enough to get you relief. Yeah, it's when you are with a coach, when you're with a therapist, and you want to dive into an old issue, then it's good to be more clear and find out exactly what you're talking about and so on. But if you're in the red hot moment of grief or anger or sadness, then just the tapping itself is enough.
Yeah.
And I already love the so you use a setup statement, basically describing the issue, and it's formulated like that. Even though I have problem, this grief, this sadness, this overwhelm, this frustration, whatever it is, I deeply and completely love myself anyway, or love and accept myself anyway. And I already totally love this. So one aspect is it gets us physical. So we're doing a physical motion. We're doing something with our bodies. So I think that is one of the things that makes it so beautiful. And the other is that when we tap on this karate chop point and saying, even though I have this grief, or I have this overwhelm, I feel everything is going to shreds, I still deeply and completely love and accept myself just the way I am.
So just
And
on the edge of your hand with your three
just
fingers.
on the edge of the hand, you tap on this karate chop point gently.
Yeah.
No punishment. And the beauty of what that does is, because normally we are the problem, and this takes this apart. It says, oh, even though I have that problem, that frustration, that anger, that grief, whatever it is, still I am okay.
So
I can
that's
love and
key.
accept myself.
You have the grief. You are not the grief.
This is one of the aspects that I love the most. Yes, this is so beautiful. This is so powerful. If you just do that, it will open up a whole new range of possibilities for you. Because hey, I can love and accept myself. I don't need to beat up on myself, even though this hardship is there. Even though I messed up in that conversation. Hey, we all humans. We all do that all the time. But still, in our core, we are lovable and we are acceptable, and
I
it's
love it.
okay. Yeah? And that is such a huge thing. And then you can tap on the points of the body, and actually I have a free handout, and we can share that in the show notes if you want to.
Absolutely.
There where you can see the points, and you have a little instruction and a little recap on how to do it.
Yep.
And so you most usually it's 8 points now that are used. So it's on the eyebrows and the inner side of the eyebrows, close to your nose. Yeah,
Yeah.
either side, left side, right side. You tap with one finger, with two fingers.
Right.
You can't do much harm unless you really hammer it in
Yeah.
one, or you don't do it at all.
Right.
But as long as you're gently tapping on that point, and then you're repeating a catchphrase that brings you into the issue of it. Oh, my grief,
Yeah.
Or my fear. Yeah? And you tap on that, and then the second point is on the side of the eye, just on the bone,
The
my
outside.
fear.
Yeah.
On the outside, exactly, between the eye and the ear, basically. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all my fear, and under the eye, on the cheekbone, all my fear. Then the next point is under the nose, between the upper lip and the nose, under all my fear. So you basically, next point is under below your lower lip and the chin, in the indent there, all this fear. So you just tune into what is happening right now. And this is also important because oftentimes we are not allowing ourselves to acknowledge what is there.
Right.
And just acknowledging, hey, yes, I don't need to push it away. There is fear. There is overwhelm. And to acknowledge that and saying, okay, that it is okay for that to be there. This is what I'm feeling right now. To be honest with oneself and acknowledge, hey, I'm feeling overwhelmed right now.
Yeah.
And that's already a powerful thing too. And then we are building in this tapping on the meridians, and we are relaxing the also the physical feedback loop.
Because we lock all these in our body.
Exactly. You have a car accident, and whenever you think about it, your palms start to sweat, or your stomach goes squeaky. Yeah. And this is because the emotion and the experience is also stored in our body, and the tapping helps relax that and release that. Yeah. And on top, we are acknowledging, hey, I'm feeling this. I'm feeling this emotion right now. I'm feeling this fear. I'm feeling this overwhelm. Yeah? So the last 3 points. So we had the eyebrow point, the side of the eye, under the eye, under the nose, between lower lip and chin, then on the collarbone, then under the arm, right? Sort of like if you just in like on the side of your chest, if you touch there, then it's often the point is a little bit sensitive. Because we have a lymphatic system is that's mostly not balanced for most people. And the last point is on top of your head. And then you take a deep breath and sigh it out, or let it go. Yeah? And so you can just tap on those points and just repeat, oh, this grief, this grief, this grief, this grief. Yeah. Or you can rant. Yeah. Oh, this stupid idiot. And why did I dare? Why did I allow it for them to treat me this badly?
All the stuff that's going through your head anyway.
Exactly. What's the story that you're telling yourself about how you are stupid and so on? But the big thing is, don't sugarcoat it. Don't positively reframe it. No, it's about
put all the F-bombs in.
Pure and simple acknowledgement what is going on in yourself right now. And if it's this F a-hole, then it's the F a-hole, and it's not, oh, I feel a little bit uncomfortable here.
Yeah. I love this. Yeah. And as you said, we'll put the link in the show notes. Plus, people can search YouTube. There's gazillion videos.
There's lots of videos on there. Yeah, exactly. So what I love is this is just the releasing part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And what I love is what I call my 5-minute technology. This is in NLP, you have this linking or chaining technique. So you a negative influence, you link it, you chain it to a positive outcome.
Right.
And you can do that in tapping as well. So it's even and there's an instruction in my handout how to do that.
Okay.
And so even if I get all frozen up when somebody becomes rude to me, I choose to stay my ground confidently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the negative issue coupled with, oh, what would I choose if I could? You're not saying that you are that, but you're creating a choice.
I love it.
Saying, okay, hey, there is an option there. There's the option for me to stand more and more confidently for what I am worth. And that, because what that does, when we do that on a regular basis, and we do the tapping on this on a regular basis, it will trigger the automatic response It will change the automatic response trigger in ourselves from, oh yeah, no, yeah, my mom also did did this all the same all the time, to, hey, I can also choose to stand my ground confidently.
Right. Outside of the
Ah,
triggers. Yep.
outside of the triggers, and then create a new automatic response. Because what is the deciding factor in our lives is the automatic responses that we have, not what we
Right.
want to do, not the decisions that we are making up, but the automatic subconscious responses that we put forward to the stimuli that appears.
And that's where
And
the freedom comes from.
and that's where the freedom comes from. That's if we
Okay.
can increase the gap between the stimuli and the response, where we then have an actual conscious say, "Hey, hang on a second. I don't want to become angry right now. I want to keep my peace."
Yeah.
And that's very hard. This is a process. We have to exercise this. We are not used to this.
Yep.
We have to exercise this. But the more and more we practice it, and that is the point of Buddhist meditation, for example, that we focus on what's going on. And oh, a thought is coming, let it go. Oh, an emotion is coming, let it go.
Yeah.
We are right now in the focus moment. So that is that the whole effort of that is increasing the moment, increasing the gap between the stimuli and the response.
Right.
And and the more we can automatize the desired response to a stimuli, the easier it will get to deal with stuff.
Check it out, check it out. Oh, are you ready for this?
It's time for the lightning round.
Oh,
Okay.
uh-oh.
So no thinking. First answer that comes to the question. Okay.
Let's see.
All right. Here we go. Introvert or extrovert?
Yeah,
Yeah.
mix.
Okay. Ambivert. What's the most favorite job you've ever had?
Wow, hard question. The first thing that came to my mind was dad.
Was dad. I
Dad.
love it. I love it. I love it. What's the goofiest thing you've ever done?
I've no idea. As I've done so many stupid things, and I always like to joke that doing goofy things and being stupid keeps you young. That's why I'm at the level of a 7-year-old.
I love it. Good. What's the best compliment you've ever received?
You've really seen me.
Oh, nice. What's
Mm,
your biggest failure and what did you learn from it?
wow. Probably that I defined myself over performance. I'm only lovable if I perform.
Right.
It took me decades to get that out of my system.
Okay. As a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, that changed on a regular basis. But I loved astronomy. I wanted
Cool.
to like, I wanted a telescope to watch the stars,
Yeah.
and that was the times of Carl Sagan and stuff. That I dreamed about that a lot. Then archaeologist,
Okay.
until I realized that actually don't care about the old pottery in the ground, but about the knowledge that those old cultures had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. What's your most important ritual?
My most important ritual. Wow. I would say TAT, Tapa Psychopressure Technique.
Okay.
It's another of those energy psychology techniques to bring you back to center.
Okay. Who do you admire?
People that are kind,
Okay.
like Mahatma Gandhi and people like that. They really shift the perspective on who we can be as a human.
Okay. How do you nourish yourself?
Chocolate, lots of chocolate.
Okay.
I must say I do have a sweet tooth, and and no, but what is nourishing to me on a soul level is conversations like this right now.
Cool. Yes. What do you want to be remembered for?
Wow, that hit a spot now. It makes me all emotional. But yeah, that people were better off because of my interaction with them.
And what's your purpose in life?
Let's bring the spirit back.
I
No,
love it.
it's really that was sort of a joke, but only sort of a joke. It's my purpose in life really evolves around empowering people to live their full potential.
Cool. I
Uh,
love it.
because we all can be so much sorry, so much more than we think of ourselves as capable.
Yeah.
And to if I can contribute that we just see a little bit more of a spark in ourselves than we had before, then I'm done.
Excellent. So, Martin, as always, this has been an absolute delight.
Just
And
likewise.
thank you so much. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in with Soulgineering Your Life and Work.
I got the energy, it's all I need to